Hey everybody, so if you've been watching the streams and my Twitter feed, you know that I have been working for quite a bit now on 3D printed Comicron One models to sell, much like the Robomats. So I thought I'd give a quick video explaining how things are going on that. The good news is the modeling part is done. So now comes the actual hard part, which is testing out the print job and how everything's coming out. For the most part, they are okay. But the big issue we're coming to is the size. Now, this is the base level size of it. It's like, I think up to 9-10 inches long with the, these are in multiple pieces, of course. I'll explain why in a minute. But this alone took about 30 hours to print. And that's kind of unacceptable. If I'm going to be making these, like mass producing them, even with 3 3D printers, that's just not in the cards right now. It's going to be too difficult to mass produce them. So I'm trying this version right here, which is 75% smaller. And overall, quality actually turned out pretty good for that. Now, obviously, you can see there's stringing and stuff like that. This is stuff I'm going to fix. But, like, the detailing on the back section there turned out pretty good, actually. This one, of course, bigger is going to have more detailing on it. Turned out pretty okay there. But, of course, that leads us into the problem of why I wouldn't just, reduce things overall. And that's because of the turrets. These are pretty thin. Now, obviously, I have to do some readjustments for size anyway because the peg holes are still too small. But even then, if I try to make these things too small and too thin, I've already had to thicken the neutron blaster turrets already. Otherwise, they would be, completely thin and like not even a toothpick in terms of size, and therefore they wouldn't print very well. They'd be very easy to snap and break. So it's a constant battle for compensating for the limitations of the technology we have. There's supposed to be like a wire, for instance, that runs from the barrel here to the main thing. I've cut that out for this design. It's, I think, shorter than the regular neutron blasters. Like, and then, of course, at this size, some of the detailing is lost. There's actually supposed to be, like, little tiny holes in the quote-unquote, whatchamacallit, rotating section of it. For it moving up and down. Obviously, it doesn't actually move up and down. But, yeah, if I make it too thin, it will be, easily breakable or just not stable enough. So there might be some compensation there and some slight size differences, and it should be. I don't want to make things like ridiculously under or oversized from where they are in the original like animated model. So anyway, the print time. Just like an entire day just for one section of this. It's going to be in 3 parts, not counting all the little added bits like the turrets. Is just unacceptable. This printed about, I want to say, 12, 13 hours. That's a little bit more acceptable. But we will see how things go. But that leads us into the other issue of this, because we have to still make other minor small adjustments, and that's to the quality. Now, as you can see on top here, with the angle that this print job was at, there's a lot of like lines along the top. That's because it's at an angle, and the way the printer is doing it. Instead of smoothing it out, it makes these very visible lines here. So I'm probably going to adjust these and make them slightly more upright than they are in the actual model, just to make it easier on the print job. Just one of those things. It's one of the fascinating things we've got with 3D printing and 3D modeling and stuff like that. Toy design, I imagine, especially. Now, mind you, it's very different for them because they have like professional grade equipment and resin stuff and actual materials and molds versus me, which is 3D printers. But it's fascinating thinking about this for just why things work the way they do in TV and movies versus how they do when you're trying to create something on your own, or at least in the actual real physical world. Let's see. Now, the other issue I was running into in terms of quality, this print job I let go, even though we had some real issues here. When you have an overhanging bit like this, like the engine's coming out here, usually for 3D printing, we have what's called supports. The supports create like a very thin line of something going up and holding it up so it's not going to try to print in the air and then come out wrong. But half of this thing's supports just did not want to stay together. They just snapped away, and there's lots of stringing and stuff like that. It's still printed okay, but you can still see some detailing issues after a bit that it took a while. So To get around that, because they're coming off the build plate, which is, you know, this thing right here that the prints are sitting on right now, we do what's called a raft. And it's, or like a brim or a skirt for other people. I prefer a raft just for stability. So this smaller version, I decided to have a raft just to have that ahead of time, and that part worked. Problem is, the raft itself does not want to come out. Now, admittedly, I'm compensating for that, and I'm for the next test prints to see how well they come out with, you know, because right now it's like 3 millimeters off of the raft to make it easier to peel it off. I'm going to up that to 0.5 millimeters and see if that helps. It's just a complicated thing, because I want, you know, these to be actually, you know, easily pour-offable. I need to mass produce these. I need to get these in a state where I can make lots of them and then, you know, either assemble them or send them off to you guys unassembled. I'm probably going to do unassembled. You guys get to have that responsibility. But it's okay. I will, like, include, like, Lego-like instructions for how to assemble these. Not that it's very complicated, but there you go. All right, on that note, combining all those elements together here, let's talk about towers. So this was the baseline towers that I created for the underside of it that are going to go into this little bit right here. This one obviously doesn't have peg holes, but it's designed to fit into this bit right here. And then, yay, it'll hang up top, the Comicron One, the defense shield towers, and all these things. But as you can see, a lot of stringing on there. It's very super thin. Like, some of these, like this is just going to fall apart, you know, even in shipping, even if it's, like, protected and in packing peanuts and whatnot. So I upped the size of all the towers, thickened them, creating this version here. This is pretty good. And you can see, like if it's too thin, like, it won't print it at all. Hence why, like, some of these towers are shorter than the ones on this one, just because the top parts were just too thin. It could not make them. But this was okay, but all the smaller towers were still pretty thin, a little loose. So, resulting in this final model where I thickened up the bottoms, I made this part, you know, much sturdier, and this is what I'm probably going to go with, although, again, if I have to reduce things in size, then these are going to get thinned again. I might have to thicken them yet again just to compensate for that. All right, that's where we're at right now. While the test prints go, I'm getting back to actually doing, you know, videos, which is the thing you come to this channel for. You know, the review of the Sonic and Mega Man crossover, the first part of it. I'm only doing the first 4 issues of that, and look forward to that in hopefully the next few days. Thank you all for your support. If you want to buy any RoboMats or DVDs, it'd be very appreciated. This month is very low revenue right now. Well, the thing is, with YouTube revenue, I get it 2 months before. January was a crap month. It's always a crap month, but this one was especially crap. So, if you guys want to support me, watch videos, but especially direct help, buy merchandise, it's greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for your continued support. That's all I got. Boner.